Welcome to Go Big or Go Broke, where you'll learn the method, madness, and making of impactful millionaires. And now, here's your host with the most, Cathy Karabetsos.
Well, hey there, podcasters. I'm Cathy Karabetsos, your host of Go Big or Go Broke. Thank you so much for joining me today. My very special guest today is an emotional intelligence coach, speaker, and author who delivers self-awareness tools, skills, and strategies that empower salespeople and sales teams to not only make them stand out, but to be remembered and also generally bond their customers to them. She assists teams in discovering and delivering what their customers deeply desire and moves them away from their emotionally and physically exhausting mental hamster wheel and safely guides them towards asking their customers the kind of emotionally intelligent questions that make them want to buy rather than to be sold. She assists teams in becoming genuinely relational, passionate, and engaged, understanding that people buy from those they know, like, and trust. She speaks and coaches in English, French, and Chinese Mandarin. Besides being a leader in the field of emotional intelligence, she's an economist and a chartered financial analyst and the founder of Walking Inside Resources. Please join me in welcoming to the show, Anne Beaulieu. Anne, it is absolutely a pleasure and an honor to have you with us today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's quite an honor. It's the first time I get to meet you, and I've heard about you so much. I'm like, ooh, it's Cathy. This is good.
Well, we have a great lineup in a group of maybe geared a little bit heavier towards men, in the wonderful group that we are both sharing with Tony Grebmeyer and the likes of all the wonderful men and women that we are in there. Wow, are you just on fire, lady? I cannot wait to dive in for our audience to get to know how you are changing lives around the globe and in 3 languages. So impressive, Anne. I think we'll dive right in if that's okay with you. And let's talk about Anne the lady. Tell us a little bit about you as a human being, who you are, mother, wife, whatever you are. Tell us a little bit about Anne, and then what path and how you chose to make it into the career that you are in today, and tell us a little bit about career where you're at today.
Well, life is contrast. So 5 years ago, you say I'm on fire, and I kind of listened to you, and I'm like, okay. Yeah. 5 years ago, imagine a woman who is weeding, has this 1 acre property in the middle of nowhere, fully gated, protected from the outside world, weeding her garden, crying, feeling utterly alone, not knowing where she's going, not knowing what's happening, but seems to be going from drama to drama, not realizing I was the common denominator with every experience that I have, like clueless, losing everything. I lost everything. And then to like, what is going on? And then if you've ever seen the movie The Matrix, I met Morpheus. I met Dove Baron. And my life it was super hard. Like, I had to get real with myself. I had to learn how to feel again. I didn't even know what I wanted or what I needed. I was lost, like completely lost. You would have met me 5 years ago, and you would have thought, there's something off about that woman. I just don't know what it is. But I looked super good on paper, in the sense that it was impressive. Sure. But I could feel none of it, none of my accomplishment. Like, underneath what was running the show was, I'm no good. There's something wrong with me, massively wrong with me. I didn't know what it was. Sure. And I just dove in, and I made it my priority to have a relationship with myself. Because without a relationship with the self, we have nothing real.
That is absolutely.
I did the work, and I became who I am today, and what you see on social media. Within 5 years, I became a force on LinkedIn within the last 3 years. I actually told Dov yesterday, I was like, I have 10,000 followers on LinkedIn. How the heck did that happen?
You went from not knowing yourself to 10,000 people wanting to know you. Yeah. Can you give us a little peek into that, and thank God. And I'm so happy for you that you discovered Anne, because I know the world needs you, and you truly know the world needs you today. So thankful you find your voice, and now you're sharing yourself with the world, and that's why we're here today. But can you give us a little insight as to what that pivotal moment, what was that change in Anne that said, I now need to discover me, or I've discovered me? What changed within you? What did you hear? What was your inspiration to say, I need to find me. I need to find loving Anne so that I could share my loving Anne with the world?
I know that moment. It's that moment when morphine. It's a funny story because I wanted to be an authentic speaker without being connected to myself.
I see.
It's like asking to charge a phone without plugging it in the wall. So I was that delusional.
I love that.
Yeah, and he walked up to me. I was in his first speaker boot camp. I was studying with him to become an authentic speaker, and so he asked me to share my greatest shame, and I completely recoiled. I ejected because it was like in my head. I went in my head. It was like, okay, what can I share? What can I share that is not so bad? What can I share that they would still like me? It was not about feeling it. It was, what can I share that would still make you like me? That's how lost I was.
Understand.
And so when I did share that event, which was horrific, I shared it like you would go in the restaurant and you would look at the menu and go, chicken or beef? And after I shared it, the people in the room, they looked at me like, and I went even more wounded because I thought, oh, I should have shared something else. I should have gone with the chicken instead of the beef. It should have been something else.
Yes.
But the shock was I had no compassion for that child inside of me.
Okay.
And it took, if you have ever seen movies where there's FBI deprogramming, like cult deprogramming,
sure.
My cult was violence. That's what I knew. My default was terror, being terrorized. Wow. So you ask somebody to feel when they feel terrorized, to feel compassion. It's really hard.
Sure.
So Morpheus, Dove, kept me spinning. He asked me questions about my children. I love my children. What kind of mother I was. I was the micromanager mother who had a color for each child, and they all had these activities, and they had to take piano and pottery and ballet, and because I thought that was being a good mom.
Sure.
Because I never had those opportunities.
Sure.
But instead, I never asked the child how they would feel about it, if it was okay with them. Oh, they had Wednesday afternoon off.
All right.
So when I realized all that it was about looking good rather than feeling good, I still did not know how to do it.
Sure.
But there's a part of me that when there's a moment where we hit rock bottom and the howling starts, like that pain that we denied, it starts. And I was willing in that moment to go there.
Wonderful.
In that pain, no matter what it took. And I completely collapsed. So all that looking good and everything, that was gone. The laughter was gone. And that what came in was a tsunami of rage. Everything that I had suppressed came in. Yeah, I had hit rock bottom.
Okay.
And I thought people would hate me and walk away from me. And I started sharing. I was very confused. I look at my past posts, I was like, oh my goodness, what was I thinking? But it was my process at the time.
Sure. And
I was determined to find that little girl at the bottom of that abyss of pain. And Tony talks about this a lot when we just, that becomes the focus. I'm going to connect with my soul. I'm going to connect with myself, whatever it takes.
Absolutely.
I burned. Have you ever had anxiety when you burned? Have you ever had that? I burned 5 months solid, 24/7. I lost 25 pounds and I just kept crying. Ego tears, but I just kept crying and sorrow and all that pain and never knowing if I would come back out.
Because you masked it for such a long time. Sure.
Every week, keep walking. keep walking. It was, I don't know, I can't do this. I can't. Because I did not know my purpose. I did not know anything.
Sure.
Anyway, a year later, like a year, I had burned my whole life. Imagine looking at your children, because we talked about it before the show, and that was the hardest thing I've had to do. I looked at each of my children. My youngest was 11 at the time.
Yes.
And I said, we have no relationship. We have nothing real because I don't know me. I don't have me. I need to have me, so I need to throw the relationship to the ground so we can build something real.
Wow.
So imagine, I felt that sorrow as well. And I couldn't articulate anything.
Sure.
And people were coming in. That was the craziest thing. People were coming in by like 10, 20, 100 requests a day, and they were following. And I was like, I would go to Dove and say, don't they see I'm screwed up? and they were like, no, you're real.
Yeah, they saw
themselves in me.
Absolutely.
They were like, if she can do it, so can I.
That's
and
right.
I never looked back. That's when I clicked with purpose, and I was like, I've got this.
I got this. And now springing forward, because your youngest is now how old?
19.
Exactly. So we're talking 8 years apart. And you have, I'm assuming your relationship with all of your children has just completely blossomed.
Nope.
Nope.
That's the funny thing. People assume that because I'm an emotional intelligence coach, that I must have this dreamy relationship with my children.
Yeah.
But remember that woman, she raised them for 10, 15 years. They have that impact.
Yeah.
My middle child, when I realized what I was, she was 15. Yeah. And I was so sorry. I was like one of those, I'm going to make amends and crying. I'm so sorry. I've hurt you so much. It was never my intention. She was angry. And she was like, I know you're sorry. I know you mean well. But you know, how many times have you said sorry? How many times? And you keep doing it. I was the type of mom that I would say to them, I'm on the phone, 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. And then 1 minute after, I still was doing something else.
Sure.
So I was non-integral. I had no integrity. It was always, but I'm busy. In a minute. And so the children, they remember that.
Of course.
So I said to her, I said, I'll parent me. And I had to let it go. 5 years later, she's then 20. Out of the blue. She's coming from visiting from college, and she putting on makeup. She's going out, and she says, she's like, by the way, you did change. And I'm so happy. And I just looked at her, and I was like, okay, we've got this.
Yes.
So then people think, then everything's peachy. Now, at 22, she came to me, it was last Christmas actually, and she said to me, I need to find me. I need to go. I need to be away from you to find me. I don't know how long it will take.
Sure.
And I felt my journey, and I felt her journey, and I hugged her tight, and I said, I love you, and I am here for you, and I fully support you. That's emotional intelligence.
Wow. I literally have chills completely up and down my entire body right now. That is amazing. And you've given her the gift to go and find herself in a way that you didn't know how to do it yourself. And wow, that is so powerful. And you're not alone. You've given yourself grace. And if I may, as a fellow mother, add some more grace to you, because I have 7, and it's not all sunshine and roses and lollipops and kisses and joy. There's a lot of things that we go through as parents, but she'll come around, and you guys are going to be probably the best of friends.
She did. 6 months later, I hadn't heard it. And then I get this phone call. It's Mother's Day. And she's like, Happy Mother's Day, Mama. I love you. And I was like, I'm on the phone. And she was like, you seem surprised. I'm like, yeah, I wasn't expecting. And she's like, it's Mother's Day. I love you. Oh, it was like, so we had the greatest talk.
How wonderful.
And it's like I said, it's come and go.
Sure.
And it's moment by moment.
Of course.
So
absolutely. And somebody gave me advice, because it's not necessarily only your journey. It's obviously her journey, but it's also life. And I think part of this is females and children. They have to find themselves. I've gone in ebbs and flows with my children. And I think there's a time when they get to a certain age or maturity and life experiences that they need to find themselves. And I think more with females, because I have 4 daughters and I have 3 sons. The girls figure out they're more challenging a little bit. So it's different times and ages with their mothers, because they want to find themselves and they see themselves in their mom. They want to deny that, and they want to find their own space and very independent and all this, because we're raising very independent humans on this planet, because we are so driven, right? And we want them to be that way, but it hurts when they're that way, but we have to let it and celebrate them. I have my oldest example is I just became grandmother a few days ago, and my daughter is just 30 years old, and we went through some years of, whoa, where did that come from? This is little baby that I nurtured in between my legs and arms and everything for the first 15 years. And then it went to, wow, challenge, to, wow, Mom, I love you. And I'm so glad you were here with me and being with me. And it's come full circle like 3 times. So we allow them to do what they need to do. And we just know that it will all work out, won't it? It just will work out. It'll work themselves out and life works itself out. That is amazing. And I'm so, so happy that you're able to share that journey. And it's not the end of the journey. We still have more walking to do, as do they. So thank you so much for opening up and sharing that with us. Our audience needs to hear that, because our legacy is how we handle ourselves and our families. And then the future is all about how we can impact other humans. And that's what we're doing today. And that's what you're doing. So thank you for sharing that, Ann. I'd love to take it to at what point did you, when you've now done some of the work and inspired by Dove, how did you get into the line of work that is really your earth moving, impactful work? Once you discovered Ann, you started.
Oh, goodness gracious. I was a coach. Scary, eh? I was a coach prior to I was a coach. Like many out, I was a coach. But as soon as I realized I was disconnected, I stopped coaching. I stopped coaching for 1 year.
Okay.
And never knowing if I would come back. And when people were like, why? Why are you doing this? I said, I refuse to heal myself through others. I will bring value. I will be a full service, whatever it takes. And it took me a year. And I came back to coaching and started rebuilding, and everything started coming full circle. Like you say, it's all this stuff. Former clients came back and they were like, we've been watching you for a year, waiting for you to come back.
Of course.
We thought, if she has the courage to go through that, I want to coach with that woman.
Absolutely.
Then I realized it was a strength. So that's basically, I started brand new again.
I love
from scratch.
I love that you recognized from your weakness is what your strengths were, and everybody watching your journey, I'm sure of it, saw that as a complete strength, because you were bearing your soul in front of your audience. Those people that are in your corner, such a beautiful story. So you take this and now you go back and you launch yourself back into the world of coaching, and tell us about the business and how it took off from there. You took your break, people came back, you started.
I wouldn't call it a break. It was a lot of work.
Your work, yes, your work. Your time off.
The business took off. As you know, as you said, I'm also an economist and a chartered financial analyst, and I coach in 3 languages: French, English, and Chinese Mandarin.
Amazing.
So many of my clients are business leaders and entrepreneurs. I write for Forbes as well.
Beautiful.
It's for example, in November, I'm opening Kawasaki's National Sales and Marketing Conference on the topic of emotional intelligence. Yeah. How to get your customers to know you, like you, and trust you, an EQ blueprint for closing sales, as well as helping mid-level managers how to deal with uncertainty. See, I only know what I am living.
Of course.
So, I've done the journey from like the bottomless pit, what seemed like it, to today.
Yes.
So I have confidence in what I share. I know my process. I know what works and what doesn't work.
Absolutely.
And I can articulate it with more clarity now.
I love it so much. So talk to us. You hit on a couple of, well, first of all, congratulations on opening for Kiyosaki. That's amazing. And I know you're going to do great things. And I love the fact that I've been watching you in your Forbes articles, and I'm so happy to see you shine. And it's amazing. Tell us a little bit about, at the mid-management level and upper management, how you work with the teams. Give us an example, maybe, if you would, Anne, of how you're working with the teams and what you're bringing to them.
Well, often what it is in terms of uncertainty, or in terms of dealing with upper management, or in terms of what?
Whichever you know, what's your most passionate projects? Tell us about that.
Okay. I had this amazing company. They were doing $16 million in sales a year. They wanted to bring it to 25 million. But it was a family-owned company. So there was the upper management were all people that knew each other, that were very close to each other, but there had been a rift. And that rift, so that basically people were not talking to each other. It was all done through memos and all that stuff. So there was a lot of clarity going in two different directions as to how one wanted to consolidate, one wanted to invest in technology. How do they reconciliate all that and find a solution? And their lower management, and the lower that I went down the pipeline, the more the employees were depressed, and they were looking to change ships because there was no clear strategy as to how to manage this company. Basically, they were losing faith in the company despite it being an amazing company that had so much to offer. They were a pillar in the community. Excellent. And so what I'm passionate about, when they brought me in, it was to do strategic planning. So they wanted to give us a plan from A to B, because that's what coaching is, from A to B. And I said, great, but first we're going to do healthy conflict resolution. They were like, healthy conflict? Right. I don't compute. I don't know what that is.
Those two don't align, healthy and conflict.
Yeah. And it was so simple. I gave them a simple exercise that can be applied anywhere. I put the two people in the room, and I said, the first person said, look at the other and say one thing that you like about this person. And it was like, it's like, wounded children. It's like,
adult children. Yeah. Yes.
And I said, say one thing that you remember that you like. And then they said something, and the other one went, really? Do you like that about me? And then it was like, okay, and then say one thing, the other person say one thing that you like. And I went back and forth like that. Before long, they were forgetting what they were angry about, because it's never about, where should we invest the dollars? It's about feeling seen, feeling heard, and feeling acknowledged. Sure. So as soon as they acknowledged each other's presence and the role, the impact, the positive impact they had in each other's lives, they were more open to look at a solution and sit down. By the end of the hour, they were sitting side by side. They didn't even need me anymore. They were like, well,
they were like yourself off the job.
Friends. They were like two friends again, which is like amazing. Sweet. People need to remember that. Seek the good in others. Absolutely. Say it, share it, and people will bend backwards. We all want to be acknowledged. We all want to feel seen and heard and validated for what we do.
There's no question about it. So how long in the case, because it sounds like you walked yourself off the job fairly quickly here.
That's the purpose.
That's the goal, right? What was the end result? Obviously, in bringing the team and the family together, and that's the ultimate goal, and it sounds like mission accomplished. Did you work with this particular organization ongoingly for a time, or was that kind of, you handled the job there and you were good to go, and they've been successful since then?
Yeah. There was a specific contract. So it's usually contracts go for 3 months when they want something like that, because there has to be implementation. There has to be, you can say to a company, you need A, B, C, D, but there's no point talking about D if A is not done.
Absolutely.
And so therefore is all that follow-up work. So by the time that they realized, okay, and then they could find a strategy, then implementing this strategy and how to implement it. Do we go more technology? Do we hire more sales force? Do we consolidate in this market? Do we expand to another province or another country? So by the time, who's going to be our supplier? The supply chain, where can we do this operational wise? Do we need another manager? By the time we were looking at all these things as to where they could save money and where they could invest money, then it becomes a lot more feasible. And I just followed through, and they came up with their 5-year plan.
Wonderful. And how are they doing today?
From what I hear, they're doing super well. Then why don't try? They haven't burned down the building.
Well, that's your job, right? And it's beautiful, I'm sure, to look back and say, you know, you were impactful in the work that you did with them. How beautiful. And, you know, I watched a video, I think I shared this with you before the show began. I watched a video with you and how you work with teams, but also you're very compassionate and passionate about working with women, because we have a unique set of challenges when balancing, if you will, and I sometimes gear towards away from that word balancing, because you're really 100% in your work and 100% in your family and 100% whatever it is we're doing. But tell us a little bit about that. Like, what caused you to be so passionate about working with women and women in sales and women in business? And because you mentioned a lot of being compassionate and finding your own purpose and being compassionate one with another, and us women kind of challenging ourselves and each other to have this newfound sense of self and challenging ourselves through what we uniquely own, which is being a mother and being in business.
Well, many women, they're the mothers. We're seen as the mothers, the nurturers. Even if we don't have children, we're seen as the nurturers. Society portrays us as we should provide for the needs for everybody else except ours. Ours is like at the bottom of the list.
That's true.
And I have this client who came to me. We've been coaching for a couple of years, and I kept nudging. You need to start a business again. You need to start a business again. He was like, well, I'm 30 something. I can't do this. What's going to happen? And I don't have the experience. I was in business before with my husband. So it was all like all the excuses.
Sure.
And right now, looking at this 20 years of business experience, but never acknowledged, they sold everything. I'm reading this stuff and I'm like, wow. And it's putting that spark into them. It's making them connect with their target market. The target market is never a group. And when they come to me, say, who's your target market? Women? No. Men, entrepreneurs, leaders. It's a person. Because if we see the person, then we can see the person in the customer. Excellent. Otherwise, we would just see a group.
True.
I make these women connect with their target market, and who their target market is, it's them. So I make them see something in these women, in the people they serve. And when they connect with that, they're unstoppable because they want to serve these people, these older version of themselves. And then they move mountains because they're connected through their heart when they do the work. Therefore, they don't need to sell anybody. It's done through their own being, their enthusiasm, their passion. But they must connect.
No trust and love.
Target market, that person.
Beautiful. That's amazing. And I love specifically that you say that you have them see themselves in their, so to say, targets.
Yep.
Just beautiful. I've said that for a very long time, even over the telephone, which is completely unique to its own, but perfect positioning. I love that so much. And there's no one else. Really, I've never heard anyone else describe it that way, Anne.
I learned it from Dove.
I'm going to have my next conversation with Dove. Dove, I'm coming for you. I love it.
Here's the thing. the target market. When we say women or men or entrepreneurs, there's a barrier. Like there's a lot of people, but to see the person, we must emotionally connect. We must see that person in it. Like when I shared about my background and everything, when I connected with the child in me, I connected with her compassionately.
Yes.
So now I see the child in everyone in front of me. I know that when an entrepreneur is throwing a tantrum or they're scared to stepping up, I see the small kid in them who maybe got scolded, who maybe got afraid, and I speak to that child.
I love it.
I hear that child. And then the adult in them, they just perk up. That's how it works for me. So it's always about seeing, if we see ourselves in the person in front of us, would we scream at them? Would we yell at them?
Sure.
Most likely not.
Absolutely.
And therefore we would say things vastly different.
Absolutely. This is where the compassion comes in. I love that too, because it takes the avatar, because today's world, everyone says, build your avatar. Your customer, instead of target, build an avatar. That was like the next step of getting closer to being human. But you take this to an entirely new level. So thank you to Dove, if he's the one who has inspired you and also the one who has taught you in this regard. But finding the child and the person real, being real and emotionally connecting with a human, a live adult who has that inner child, all of us do, not knowing where they came from in their past, but you could see probably some pain in everybody, and just being compassionate, I think, is the key. But you have said it so well that this really sits so well. I hope the whole audience takes away today being that personal and that upfront with who indeed your target is, because the target is so generic and an avatar is even so generic. So thank you, taking that a whole new level, Anne. So I could probably spend another few hours with you, and I know our audience is going to want to know more. So tell us, leave us with maybe what it is, the work that you are inspired to do, your next few steps in your work, and so people could follow you. And then if you would share with us how they can find you. And then the last thing I'll ask you to do is maybe give us some practical tips for our audience today. If they were listening to Cathy and Anne having coffee and conversation today, that they would say, wow, Anne gave us some amazing things to think about how I too can go big after I find myself, or I've already discovered me. Some maybe practical ways that they too can go big in their own lives.
Well, you can find me at walkinginside.com. My company is called Walking Inside Resources, because to me, life is a journey within. Our external reality is just an expression of what's going on inside, because our beliefs shape our reality. I'm a writer. I have like 30 books on Amazon, so you can find my books on Amazon as well, and they're on my website as well. Coming up, I have a coaching program, Set Yourself Free. It's to help people free themselves from their false beliefs around money. Most people, I've done a survey on LinkedIn with women who were 200 women. They were all university educated for the most part. They made six-figure salary, and the number one feeling about money was anxiety.
Wow.
There's something wrong there. So it's addressing all of that and changing all those beliefs so that people get to multiply money and actually enjoy it.
Absolutely.
One tip that I can leave your audience with is one of the greatest tip ever, super easy. Take a white piece of paper and write on it, I am choosing to feel this way. And put it on the wall. When you feel good, when you feel awesome, when you've nailed that interview and you've nailed that client, go stand in front of it and say, I'm choosing to feel this way. And when you lost your shit and you got angry and you got whatever like pissed you off, go stand in front of it. I am choosing to feel this way. And that builds self-accountability. We can choose our feelings and emotions. We can shape life rather than think that's life.
So beautiful. That is probably one of the most powerful takeaways. Simple yet powerful. I share that as a parent, always with my children, we do choose how we present ourselves. We do choose how we respond. But this is a perfect way to remind ourselves every single day. So take lipstick and do it in the bathroom on the mirror if you need to do it. This is some great advice, and it has been such an honor and a privilege. And we will put in the show notes all the ways that you have shared with us that our audience can reach you and find you. And maybe if you have any links to your books and you want to send those off, we'll share those in the notes as well. It's been such a privilege and an honor having you on the show today. I will be following you, as you know that I will, in our group and also on social. I can't wait to watch you continue to flourish and change lives. You are definitely changing lives indeed, Anne. Thank you for finding you and your inner child. I really appreciate you very, very much.
Likewise. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for inviting me on your show. And I'll be following you as well on social media. We evolve in the same circles.
Yes, we do. And I'm so thankful for our group that we're involved in. And thank you to all the men and women of our group as well. Well, podcasters, thank you so much for joining me today. Please do subscribe to the show by clicking that big red subscription button. Kindly rate the show and share it out to all your friends so they too can go big. I am Cathy Karabetsos. You can find me at cathykarabetsos.com, on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Have a grateful day and go big.
You've been listening to Go Big or Go Broke with Cathy Karabetsos. If you enjoyed this episode, then you better play big and hit that subscribe button.